20 years ago, Thailand was an economic success story with growth rates similar to modern China. But political instability has knocked it back. The economy may still be the second largest in Southeast Asia, worth $260 billion, but it will be lucky to hit growth of 3.5% in 2010. Thailand has a shaky political past, with 18 coups in 75 years. The latest in 2006 ousted controversial former leader Thaksin Shinawatra, but he continues to enjoy considerable support in the country, and his influence is still felt through proxy parties. In December, a new Prime Minister, Abhisit Vejjajiva, was appointed, who some think could bring stability to Thailand as it emerges from the downturn. There are already signs of recovery. Growth is picking up, and after a dip last year, FDI for 2010 is expected to hit $7.7 billion. Eckart Sager caught up with the Prime Minister in Davos and began by asking how the economic crisis has affected Thailand.
We were mainly impacted through the fact that we are a very open economy. So there was a big drop in exports, big drop in tourism at the beginning of last year. Domestically, there were no fundamental problems. Financially, we were doing fine. So what we did was we put in a stimulus package right at the start of last year to sustain the domestic economy, and then follow it up with investment in infrastructure. And we were fortunate that the global economy began to pick up towards the end of the year. So by the end of the year, I think we can now safely say that recovery is well on the way. We see that last year, for the whole year, the economic contraction, which at the beginning of the year was -7%, averaged out for the whole year, should be less than 3%. And that means positive growth in the last quarter. We now expect about 4% growth this year. We see exports growing at double digit again. Unemployment is now at 1.1%. So we have every reason to believe that the recovery is going to be strong.
To what extent is your recovery compromised by the political uncertainty, which really doesn't go away?
Well, I think what last year has proved is that the government had not been distracted by the political diversions, if you like. We focused on what needed to be done to get the stimulus packages in place. We focused on the key policies on education, on services to the rural area. So in the end, I think we have proven that the business of government continues, and we are really addressing the concerns of the people.
Thailand was really an incredibly rising star, especially in the 90s, with growth actually outstripping that of China at one point. And your private investment was on an annual basis of 12% increasing. That has stalled. Even your central bank governor is giving the blame to the political uncertainty. What are you telling investors?
Well, actually the number for applications for tax privileges through the Board of Investment last year was up 70%, 60–70%. So there's a clear interest still in investing in Thailand. I think we have had a number of unfortunate incidents before we came in, and also the April events didn't help in terms of confidence. But more and more, I think people come to appreciate that the fundamental of the Thai economy remains strong, and that this government is serious about business.
Thaksin Shinawatra remains a thorn in your side. He has support of a large swathe of the population. He is now in Cambodia and rallying his supporters from Cambodia. To what extent is he a problem to stability, and is there even a chance of a royal pardon for him to return?
I think he does have some support, although I point out that last year the government won a majority of by-elections, not the opposition who support him. Obviously, he has his own agenda. He wants to return to power. He wants to return to the country without taking the responsibilities for what he's done. And also, he wants his assets, which actually is a pending court decision on confiscation. Our stance on this is clear. I think he has to first accept the rule of law. He has to respect the court decision. And like any other Thai, once he accepts that, he would be eligible to go through this process of appealing for a royal pardon.
I wanted to ask you about trade, because with the anemic growth in the US and Europe, are you changing your strategy, looking more towards India, China, the ASEAN region with regard to trade and investment?
Well, inevitably, there has already been a shift, and that we also recognize that there has to be rebalancing. One of the things about growth in Asia is that people still feel the growth comes from the supply side, and we are still very much feeding the European and the American markets. And clearly that can't continue. I think that's one of the lessons of the crisis. And therefore we need to build a stronger regional market for ourselves too, which is why we are continuing to see free trade agreements being signed between ASEAN and Japan, Korea, India, Australia, New Zealand and China. And these are coming into place. So we expect quite a boost in terms of intra-Asian trade from these agreements.
And ASEAN, you believe, is becoming a bit more rules-based, that it will be more structured and more integrated economies?
Yes, we have the new charter in place, and during our chairmanship we have made progress to make it a more rules-based organization. And we're sticking to the timetable. You know, as of the 1st of January, apart from the ASEAN-China free trade, tariffs among 6 ASEAN economies are now reduced to 0.
Everybody talked about the Asian decade at one point. Asia is clearly driving the growth around the world right now. Can we say that Asia is in it for the long haul now? Can we talk about an Asian century now?
Well, I don't want to sound complacent, and I think there are a number of challenges that remain as far as Asia is concerned. Many of the Asian economies have their own internal challenges. We also need to go through a period of strong institution building and also address some of the governance issues. Be that as it may, I do believe in the potential of the region, the sheer size, the entrepreneurship that is there, the fact that we have always adopted a very pragmatic approach, and also outward looking, which I think helps us in this era of globalization.